I first started looking at verification almost a decade ago. I launched a blog called Regret the Error that looked at errors and accuracy and verification in the media. I wanted it to be something that journalists would find interesting and useful from one journalist to another, but I also thought that there was really a mission there as well, that accuracy is so important to what we do, and yet it wasn't really being discussed on a frequent level, and people weren't diving into best practices and things like that. So that was something that I tried to do. And I worked on that blog for a long time, but it's really been in the last few years that the element of verification has just jumped up to the top as the most urgent and I think important element in all of this. And it's really not surprising why that might be. You look at the rise of social networks, the growth of the internet, you look at the amount of content and information that's being created and shared and spread, and obviously one of the biggest challenges we have as a society, and certainly for journalists, is to filter that information and to find things that are relevant and interesting, and of course also true. And so verification goes from being something that was just done in newsrooms among journalists, having a discussion, trying to figure something out and decide whether they should put it out to the world at large. Suddenly it's something that all of us are actually trying to do on a daily basis. The things that we see and read, they may not be true. There's more misinformation and there's freely flowing propaganda, and we're all trying to figure out the things that are actually true and real. So verification becomes more essential for newsrooms, and I think some of them are starting to meet that challenge. There's more work to be done, but there's also almost a larger societal need for it. And so I think the skills that are in the verification handbook, that are in the course, and that are being spread in other ways become essential to society as a whole. In terms of newsrooms, I think that there are some that have really taken this on. Obviously, Storeful is a company that exists to verify user-generated content. The BBC's user-generated content hub does an excellent job verifying information on a daily basis from all around the world. And we're seeing some specialists emerge in other newsrooms. There's still a skills gap, though. There's still a lot more that people have to understand about the mindset and approach of verification, about all of the wonderful free tools that they can use to help do this work, and about the need to collaborate both within their newsrooms but also with the community at large to actually find ways to knock down misinformation, to figure out what's true, and to help the truth spread. So that's why it's so important for these courses and the handbook and material to be out there. One of the most exciting things that's happening right now is there are entrepreneurs, there are technologists, there are researchers, there are people from different parts of society, from academia, that are all coming together and looking and saying, this is a really interesting problem to try and solve. How do we figure out how to get more trusted information? How do we figure out ways to look through a gigantic fire hose of something like Twitter and actually pull out the things that are credible in a disaster situation or a crisis situation? So we're starting to see algorithms applied to the problem. We're seeing that applied with human expertise. We're seeing other tools come into play. Companies like Google are building things for to help identify information during a crisis. So we're coming to a point, I think, where the human side and the technology side are going to interact more than they ever have before. I don't think we're going to get to an automatic truth machine anytime soon, and I think the sheer volume of content around the world and the different types of it makes it an extremely difficult problem to solve. But we are going to get closer to a time when things will be flagged earlier on as being suspicious or things being particularly credible. I think we are getting to a time where technology is going to aid us in the process more than ever before. And if we can make that technology more user-friendly, then that's something that not just journalists, but people in society as a whole can use. And that's an exciting prospect where we can bring some of the human expertise and analysis and help scale it up through the help of technology. And that's probably where the future of verification lies. And there are actually people actively working on that problem every day. And that wasn't the case even 5 years ago, and it certainly wasn't the case 10 years ago.